Hi guys, it's Megan from Vigilante Vibes, and today I have another character breakdown for a character that will be involved in an upcoming project coming on June 24th. And of course, I am talking about Ironheart. As of this recording on May 6th, Marvel still has not promoted the show, which is concerning, but what can you do except promote it yourself? So, who is the Hood? What is he going to do in the show? What is his deal? I have a lot here for you, so I hope you enjoy it. So, Ironheart is right around the corner, hitting Disney Plus on June 24th, and we will see the Hood for the first time in the MCU. So, what is his background? I'm going to tell you. The Hood was created by Brian K. Vaughan and Kyle Hotz, and first appeared in The Hood #1 in July of 2002. Here's a quick version of how the Hood came to be. Okay. Parker Robbins grew up around some shady characters. His dad was tight with the Kingpin and was around a lot when Parker was a kid. His mom ended up in a mental hospital and his dad was thought to be dead, so Parker was living with his pregnant girlfriend Sarah. One day, he and his cousin John got a tip about a suspicious shipment at an abandoned factory. When they went to check it out, all they found were some candles, a folded chair, and what looked like to be tribal art. That's when Nasanti demon attacked them. Parker shot it with his handgun and figured he'd killed it. He thought that was it. So he took the demon's creepy hooded cloak and boots, which is weird. That's a weird thing to do, Parker. But whatever. While running from some thugs afterwards, Parker realized that the boots could make him fly. Later, after John punched him in the stomach, he discovered that the cloak could turn him invisible, as long as he held his breath. So, after his self-titled series, The Hood popped up again in 2006 miniseries Beyond, which took place in space and showed him leaning a bit more toward being an anti-hero than a straight-up villain. In 2007 interview with Newsarama, writer Brian Michael Bendis said that in New Avengers, he planned to give Parker Robbins a treatment similar to Vito Corleone's in The Godfather Part 2. Bendis pointed out that, like Sentry and Echo, the Hood was a great new character that other writers really hadn't touched. So he wanted to make sure Parker didn't fade into obscurity, which is a hero's work. That said, Parker didn't stay on the anti-hero path for long. In 2007 New Avengers storyline, he returned to full villain mode, rising up as the godfather of supervillains. This mostly happened because Marvel's Civil War event had the heroes too busy or divided to stop him. Even when the New Avengers took down his gang of super criminals, he broke them out, only to beat them again later. After Secret Invasion in 2008, the Hood took on a bigger role as a part of the Cabal and even got his own limited series, Dark Reign: The Hood, written by Jeff Parker. Interestingly, ever since Bendis took over for the character, Parker hasn't been seen using the boots or the Nasanti demon. The whole demon backstory was later revealed to be a disguise for Dormammu, tying into the Runaways series by Brian Vaughan. So, that's a quick breakdown, but there's so much more to the character than that, so let's just get into it. Parker Robbins was a small-time crook who always had a thing for the flashy, dangerous lifestyle of supervillains. He even looked up to guys like Electro when he was younger. With his mom needing constant medical care, Parker dropped out of high school and turned to crime to pay the bills, all while lying to her about having a normal job. His cousin, John King, was also into the shady stuff, and two stuck together for most of it. While juggling his criminal side gigs and hooking up with a prostitute named Gro, Parker was living with his pregnant girlfriend Sarah, who had no idea about his double life. She thought he worked odd jobs like security gigs to make ends meet. One night, Parker and John hit up a warehouse to steal some gear and ended up walking into a bizarre magical ritual. Just as they were about to leave, they got attacked by a cloaked demon. Parker shot it and figured it was dead, so he swiped its red cloak and boots before bailing. On the way home, some guys tried to rob him for his shoes, so he threw on the demon boots and ran. That's when he discovered they let him walk on air. Later, at John's place, he realized the cloak made him invisible, but only while he was holding his breath. Using these new powers, John began stealing weapons and supplies to level up his criminal game. What he didn't know was that the cloak came with a serious catch. It made him a host for Dormammu, a demon lord of the dark dimension. If you are more of a comic reader, no, if you're more of a MCU watcher, then you know that Dormammu, you saw him in Doctor Strange movie, because he came to bargain. So, just to tie that thread for you. Later, John convinced him to help steal a shipment of diamonds being smuggled in by a crime boss named Gollum. But things went south very fast. Gollum's top assassin, Madame Rapier, sent villains like Constrictor, Jack-o'-lantern, and Shocker to take him out. Somehow, Parker managed to beat them, but accidentally shot and killed a cop in the chaos. John was arrested, and the media dubbed Parker the Hood, turning him into a wanted man. Parker tried to bust John out, but he got ambushed by the cops using AIM tech. Under pressure, the cloak took over and unleashed some serious dark magic. John didn't want to be a fugitive and asked Parker to get him out the legal way. Parker stormed into Gollum's office, offered to give back the stolen diamonds in exchange for a cut of the profits, and pretended to go into business with him. But Gollum had other plans and sent Rapier to kill him. That's what you do when you work with villains. You don't trust anyone. Parker was ready. He overpowered her. He forced her into a copy of his cloak. When the cops showed up, they mistook her for the Hood and killed her on sight for the cops' murder. With Rapier gone and John cleared of the charges, Parker disappeared into the shadows, free to do things his way. The Hood ended up being one of the superpowered people pulled into the Beyonders' twisted cosmic games, where the goal was to basically fight and kill each other. Once Parker realized the Beyonder could reshape reality itself, he turned invisible and tried to backstab the others to steal that power for himself. Kraven quickly took him down, and Parker backed off, asking for forgiveness. Later, the group crash landed on Battleworld and started trying to figure out how to escape. While off on his own, the ever-skeptical Hood checked on a badly injured Spider-Man, only to discover it was actually the Space Phantom in disguise. Eventually, when everyone got trapped in limbo, thanks to the Phantom's actions, the Hood ended up bonding with Gravity, a young and idealistic hero. He ended up opening up about his past, including some deeply personal stuff about Sarah and their stillborn child. After it was revealed that their real enemy was the cosmic being known as the Stranger, Gravity sacrificed himself so the others could escape. Back on Earth, the Hood showed up at Gravity's funeral to pay his respects. Now, we have to talk about his criminal empire. During the chaos of the superhuman Civil War, Parker Robbins saw an opportunity and jumped in to build his power in the world of organized supercrime, with his cousin John King by his side. He pulled together a gang made up of mostly escaped inmates from the Raft prison break and pitched the group as an honest, mutual support kind of alliance. To earn their trust, he brutally beat up the hero Tigra on camera for Jigsaw and shared the footage with the criminal underworld as a show of loyalty. Parker also set his sights on taking down other crime bosses like Mr. Fear, with help from Turk Barrett, and slowly worked towards dominating New York's entire criminal scene. He even manipulated Daredevil along the way. With a tip from Camistro, he took out the Owl during an underground auction for a Deathlock cyborg, further expanding his reach. But things got messy when he ran into Wolverine, who was with the Avengers at the time. After barely escaping, Parker used the Deathlock unit to pull off a bank heist in New Jersey and ranking in millions, though the cyborg was destroyed in the process. Just when he thought things were going great, the Avengers, with some magical backup from Doctor Strange, ambushed him and his crew. Strange used illusions to make it look like they were up against an army of heroes. The Hood bailed mid-flight, and most of his crew ended up arrested by S.H.I.E.L.D. Still, he wasn't done. He regrouped and planned a revenge mission. He raided the S.H.I.E.L.D. facility where his people were locked up and tortured Tigra again for intel. She spilled that the Avengers were hiding out in Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum, protected by magic. Using his own mystical powers, the Hood broke through the defenses and launched a surprise attack. The Avengers got wrecked, and Doctor Strange was killed, but came back after using dark magic, taking everyone out in the process. That move cost Strange his title as Sorcerer Supreme, and the Hood disappeared again, still getting guidance from the demon inside his cloak. Still focused on freeing more of the crew, the Hood went after S.H.I.E.L.D. again and rescued Madame Mask. During the fight, it turned out that the agents that he killed were actually Skrulls, alien shapeshifters who secretly infiltrated Earth. I think we all remember. I don't want to bring up the series Secret Invasion. Oh, I just did. Sorry. If you liked it, you liked it. If you didn't, you're on my side here. The Hood's crew captured one and tortured it for info. Growing suspicious, Robbins used his cloak's mystical sight to spot another disguised Skrull and instantly killed him. That's when he finally confronted the demonic force controlling his cloak and learned it was Dormammu. When the Skrull invasion went public, Robbins rallied his gang, not for the heroics, but to protect his criminal empire. They joined forces with the Earth's mightiest heroes in Central Park to take on the Skrulls. After Norman Osborn took down the Skrull Queen and the invasion ended, Parker and the other villains went underground again. After helping fight off the Skrulls, the Hood caught the attention of Norman Osborn, who invited him to join the secret group called the Cabal. It was basically a power circle made up of influential players who supported each other's goals in the new world order Osborn was creating. Under Osborn's leadership, the superhero world took a dark turn. He twisted it into something corrupted and dangerous. As part of this new system, the Hood was given a shot at going legit by officially registering his criminal empire under the Initiative, making it one of Osborn's sanctioned forces. When the real Avengers planned a sneak attack on Osborn's fake Avengers, a team made up of rebranded villains, Osborn caught wind of it. Instead of letting the attack play out, he sent the Hood syndicate to ambush the Avengers at the Hellfire Club mansion. The Hood's crew had the numbers and easily overpowered the heroes until Carol Danvers used Spider-Woman's powers to stun the villains long enough for the Avengers to escape. Later, when the Punisher tried to take out Osborn and failed thanks to Sentry, Osborn told the Hood to track him down. To help with the mission, Parker tapped into Dormammu's dark magic to resurrect a bunch of dead villains who had been killed by the vigilante Scourge of the underworld. This included names like Basilisk, Cheetah, Cyclone, Death Adder, and Titania, among others. Together, they became his new squad, ready to hunt the Punishers. Thanks to his connection with Dormammu, the Hood was given the power to kill Doctor Strange. With Strange out of the picture, Dormammu wanted to take over as Sorcerer Supreme, using Parker as his vessel. But Strange managed to escape and went to the Avengers for help. Meanwhile, Parker was struggling hard with the demonic possession. Every time he tried to destroy the cursed cloak, he got punished for it. During this time, he cut off contact with most of his gang, except for Madame Mask. She managed to find him and, grateful for how he looked after her, offered her support. She even revealed her real scarred face to him, sparking a twisted romance between the two. Next on Dormammu's hit list was Damon Hellstrom, the son of Satan, another contender to take over Strange's role. But ultimately, Brother Voodoo was chosen as the new Sorcerer Supreme. He and the new Avengers took on the Hood in a brutal fight, and in the end, Brother Voodoo stripped Parker of Dormammu's powers for good. To make up for that loss, Loki gave the Hood the Norn Stones, a powerful magical artifact that he used to boost his gang, but During Osborn's attack on Asgard, Loki had a change of heart and took the stones back to help the heroes fight the Void. After the Void was finally defeated, the Hood was arrested. While locked up in the raft, Peter Robbins became friends with fellow inmate Urtzia, an Inhuman who let slip that Black Bolt had hidden an Infinity Gem. Once Parker bribed a guard and escaped, he went on a mission to get the Reality Gem, which was stashed in the Himalayas. He was hoping to reclaim the kind of power he lost when he was cut off from Dormammu. After getting the Reality Gem, it teleported him straight to the Power Gem, which was hidden inside the Baxter building. He managed to grab that one too, but not before drawing attention, and soon found himself facing off against the Red Hulk. Somehow, Parker actually beat the Red Hulk, though doing so definitely got the Avengers' attention. After that, he dropped by to see Madame Mask and used the Reality Gem to heal the scars on her face. Then he headed to Arena 51 to grab the Space Gem. The Avengers showed up right as he got it, so he used it to teleport them away and continued hunting the next gem, the Time Gem, but the Avengers had already claimed that one. Even Thor, Red Hulk, and Namor couldn't stand up to the combined power of the 3 gems Parker had. But when Uatu the Watcher appeared and distracted him for just a second, Red Hulk managed to snatch away the power gem. Everyone ended up getting teleported to New Mexico, right near where the Avengers he ditched earlier had landed. Before they could regroup, Parker bailed again and headed to the ruins of Xavier's school, where Professor X and another group of Avengers were trying to get past the Danger Room's defenses to reach the Mind Gem. Parker got there first and took it despite Xavier trying to stop him. The gems then pulled him into the astral plane in search of the Soul Gem. There, he ran into what looked like Thanos, but it turned out to be an illusion created by Doctor Strange to distract him. While the trick didn't completely work, it did give the Avengers enough time to catch up and steal back the space and mind gems. Red Hulk tried to wrestle the Reality Gem away from him, but the fight caused reality itself to start falling apart. When Parker tried to get the gems back, he realized Iron Man had already taken them. In the end, the gems, designed to be together, rejected him, and the Reality Gem left him too, rejoining the rest of the Infinity Gauntlet, now worn by Iron Man. Powerless and defeated, the Hood was teleported back to the raft. After getting back into the crime gang, the Hood decided to build a new crew to help him climb back up to the top. He started recruiting a bunch of villains, aiming to form his own version of the Illuminati, a sort of a elite club of supervillains, because he wanted to play in the big leagues and eventually control the whole world order. When a plan to steal Asgardian weapons fell apart, Parker shifted gears. He tried to rally a group of villains who had been abused by S.H.I.E.L.D. while locked up at Pleasant Hill. Things were going smoothly until he suggested they start going after the families of their enemies. That crossed the line for Titania, who called him out on it, which should have. She forced him to teleport them both away from the hideout, and in the fight that followed, she took him down and destroyed his magical cloak, cutting him off from all the powers that were given to him. When the Norn Stones boosting his powers again, the Hood made another play to become the top dog in the criminal world, basically aiming to be the next kingpin. He jumped into the power struggle already heating up between Black Cat and Willis Stryker. As his first big move, he used the stones to bring Hammerhead, Black Cat's right-hand man who had been killed by Diamondback, back from the dead. After the defenders took down Diamondback, the Hood swooped in and took over his whole criminal network. The defenders tracked him to a penthouse thanks to some intel from Black Cat, but he managed to fight them off and slip away. Not long after, he gathered a bunch of supervillains for a meeting to pitch his vision of a new, more organized underworld. But before he could really sell it, the defenders showed up again, this time with backup from other heroes. Still, the Hood pushed ahead with his plan to rebuild his gang, starting with targeting Victor Von Doom, who had recently turned over a new leaf and was operating as the new Iron Man. The Hood's crew attacked Doom multiple times but couldn't manage to kill him. Thinking there might be a link between Doom and Stark, the Hood tried to strong-arm Eric Lynch, Stark Industries' acting CCO, into giving him control of the company, especially since Tony Stark had recently gone missing. Before he could pull it off, both Doom and the newly returned Iron Man showed up and wrecked his plan. It also came out that some unknown demon had been possessing Robbins and used him to once again scar Doom's face with hellfire. Hawkeye started going after the Hood after he kept dodging capture. Things got worse when someone, who was actually Ronin, started attacking the Hood's hideouts. The Hood was not happy about it, so he sent his guys to a Magia base, wiping out everyone there to send a message to Ronin. Soon, the Hood and his criminal crew were confronted by Hawkeye, who was tracking Ronin. The two clashed, and the Hood ended up injuring Hawkeye pretty badly. Not long after, he hired Bullseye to go after Ronin, but before he could enjoy his usual birthday party, Hawkeye ruined his plans. On top of that, Mayor Fisk's assistant warned the Hood that he was pushing his luck, so the Hood pulled back from attacking Clint. Meanwhile, Bullseye figured out that Ronin was actually Hawkeye and impersonated him to make Ronin look like a full-on criminal. The Hood then planned to reveal Hawkeye's identity to the press and put a $3 million bounty on him for the villains he'd rounded up. But after Hawkeye beat Bullseye, he took the $3 million and used it to pay Count Nefaria, who sent a demon to deal with the Hood. The Hood got his magic stripped away by the demon, leaving him powerless. Still, he tried to fight Hawkeye, but it was pointless. Hawkeye charged at him, knocked him out, and left him for the police to catch. After losing his magical powers, Parker snapped and went crazy trying to get his Hood back. But when he found out Black Cat was visiting Peter Parker in the hospital, he barged into his room with a gun, threatened to kill Peter if Felicia didn't get him his Hood back by morning. She agreed, but only if Mary Jane came with her since she was part of the crew. Robbins waited by Peter's bedside all night, getting more desperate as time passed. Just when he was about to go through with his threat, Felicia showed up with the Hood, except it wasn't the real one. She had tricked him. As soon as the Hood put it on, it turned out to be the demon bag that swallowed his original cloak. The bag consumed him whole, leaving him a victim of his own greed. Parker somehow managed to escape back to Earth and tried to rebuild his power by using the Hallow Gospels to summon the Halloween spirit. However, Ghost Rider showed up to fight the spirit, while Elsa Bloodstone and Talia Warrode stopped the summoning ritual before it could fully take shape. When Zarathos, the demon spirit, got separated from Johnny Blaze and was looking for a new host, it ended up bonding with Parker. He'd made a deal with Mephisto to regain his power, and now he was filled with the spirit of vengeance. Parker moved to Chicago and teamed up with a gang of vampires led by Helmuth, planning to take down the 5 criminal families controlling the city. His first target was Gretel Wagner from the German mafia. He wiped out her whole operation and let his vampire allies feast on the mafia members, but kept Gretel locked up in the meat locker. Robbins took all their money to restore his wealth, then bought a fancy apartment for his ex-wife and daughter to try to reconnect with them. Next, he captured Balfi, the leader of another family, and tortured him alongside Wagner. After that, he went after Big Pete, who ran an illegal gambling ring. Robbins killed everyone involved and tortured Pete with his penance stare. He got more info from the criminal bosses, which led him to Abraham Davis, who controlled the labor unions. But things started to get messy with Helmuth. Her vampire followers were getting impatient, wanted to feed on the captured crime bosses, so Robbins ended up killing them to take control. Eventually, Helmuth and Robbins had a falling out, but he did not care. He already taken over most of Chicago's underworld and had enough resources to cover his tracks. While still trying to make up with Sarah and Brienne, he went after the last crime boss, a drug lord, Lorenzo Perez. After breaking into Perez's facility and having most of his men kill themselves, Robbins offered Perez a chance to live if he handed over his business and worked for him. But Perez knew that about Ghost Rider, and rather than submit, he blew up his own facility, taking himself out of the process. Furious and empty-handed, Robbins returned to the meat locker to find Helmuth's gang had eaten his prisoners. In panic, he rushed to find Sarah and Brienne, only to find that they had been turned into vampires by Helmuth as revenge for killing her minions. This pushed Robbins over the edge. Enraged, he vowed to burn the whole city to the ground. Johnny Blaze and his buddy Zeb immediately confronted Robbins, wanting to take the spirit of vengeance back from him. A shootout broke out between the two Ghost Riders, with Robbins telling Johnny that Zarathos chose him because he was willing to give the demon his blood. Robbins managed to pierce Johnny with his chain, but before he could do any more damage, they were both trapped by Zeb's spell. This allowed Johnny to briefly talk to Zarathos, but Mephisto himself showed up, broke the spell, and made sure Robbins kept the spirit of vengeance. With Sarah and Brienne now turned into vampires, Mephisto told Robbins that he had to kill them as part of their deal. Robbins refused and instead offered his soul to Mephisto in exchange for his family returning to normal. Mephisto agreed, but he sent Robbins to hell. He called him pathetic. In hell, Robbins was tortured and forced to help transport suffering souls, while Zarathos finally reunited with Johnny. The Hood managed to break out of hell and reunite with his gang, including Deathwatch. Determined to regain his power, he made his move to the Darkholders, a cult that worshipped Sithon, and declared himself their new leader. He had them relocate to the abandoned Castle Dracula, where they began plans to recreate the Darkhold. As they searched for pieces of Sithon around the globe, they discovered that Jack Russell, the werewolf by night, carried a bit of Sithon's essence because werewolves were created through the Darkhold. They only managed to get a piece of his flesh, but with the help of Elder Dorgana, they were able to create a clone to help track Russell down. So that is the Hood. That's who the character, I think Anthony Ramos will be playing in the Ironheart series. I mean, that's who the character will be based on. There's no way they get that dark. But they might, because Mephisto is supposed to be in this show too. I'm getting my hopes up all over again. I do this every time. So, like always, I have some comic books that you can check out to get to know the Hood even more. He's a cool character, dark character, magical character, into all that. So, starting off, the Hood, numbers 1 through 6, his origin story. Beyond, number 1 through 6. Similar to Secret Wars, and we see more of Parker's motivations, which is pretty cool. Dark Reign, the Hood, number 1 through 5, which you should always check out Dark Reign. I feel like I say that in every video of a character breakdown I make, but Dark Reign is where it's at. So, yeah, and then you can see how Parker deals with all this power and how he's connected to a demon, so that's kind of cool. Avengers, the Initiative, numbers 25 through 35. House of M, Masters of Evil. Avengers Volume 4. Ghost Rider Volume 5, Final Vengeance. So, that's all I have for you today regarding the Hood. Be sure to like and subscribe so when they finally drop a trailer for Ironheart, you can watch me review it. So, with that being said, have a marvelous day.